In this lesson, you'll learn how to do math with fractions. Okay, let's start with stuff we know. This is a quarter. Here's another quarter. This one is worth 25 cents, you know that one's worth 50 cents. You add the two of them together, you want to know how much you have, right? Okay, here we go. Let's see how that looks in math. 1 quarter plus 1 quarter is 2 quarters. 1, 2 quarters. Really, you didn't have to know math to be able to do this, right? You know this stuff. That's the whole point. It's how you represent it in math that's the challenge here. So if you have 1 quarter plus 1 quarter, we can pretty much ignore the numbers on the bottom because they're all the same. And what we want to focus on is what's happening on top. Basically, you're adding 1 and getting 2. Right? Not rocket science. Then you have 2 over 4, which you're going to simplify. You're going to divide top and bottom by 2, and you end up with 1 over 2. A half. Half of $1. That's what this represents. Okay, so if a quarter plus a quarter will give you 2 quarters, what happens if you have 1/5 plus 3/5? Think about that for a second. Pause the video. Try it out, figure out what the answer is, and then continue. Okay, 1/5 plus 3/5 is 4/5 because 1 and 3 is 4, and you're just carrying the 5 along for the ride on the bottom. All right, let's try another one. 1/12 and 5/12. What are we going to do here? Pause the video if you need to think about it. Okay, we're going to ignore the 12s on the bottom. We're just going to take it along for the ride, and then we're going to add 1 and 5, which will give us 6. So 6 over 12 is going to be your answer. But you know you can simplify this a little bit. So you bring it down, divide top and bottom by 3, and you get, 3 divided by 6, and you get 1 over 2. Because 6 goes into 12, so 6 into 1 is 6. 6 into 6 is 1, sorry. And 6 into 12 is 2, so you get 1/2. Note how, as I'm writing this out, I'm doing it the math way. I'm lining up my equal signs, and I'm leaving lots of space in between the lines. The reason for that is so that we don't get our fractions mixed up, right? Because fractions take up a lot of space. So what happens if you have to add numbers that have different things going on the bottom? Well, that gives you a whole new problem because you can't just carry the number along for a ride, right? You got to do something different. Remember from before that if you had a larger number that you could simplify, you divide top and bottom by the same thing. So here we divided the top by 2 and you got 1. You divide the bottom by 2 and you get 2, right? So you get 1 over 2 because you divided it all by 2. Funny enough, you can also multiply the top and bottom numbers by something to make it easier to work with. So if we multiply the top by 2, you get back the 2. And if you multiply this by 2, you get back the 4. So you can go either way. You can start with 2 over 4 and divide by 2 to get 1 over 2. Or you can start here and multiply by 2 to go the other way and get 2 over 4, right? Depends what you need. In the case of, and there it is if you write it out that way. In the case of this problem, though, you've got 1 over 3 and 3 over 4. So we need these two bottom numbers to be the same to be able to add this together, right? So the way we do it is we multiply this left one by 4, like this, because this is the 4, right? It's this 4 we're using, and we're going to multiply the top by it and the bottom by it so that it keeps the same fraction. And then on the right side, we're going to multiply top and bottom by that 3, so that you end up with 4 times 3 and 4 times 3. So the two bottom numbers are going to end up being the same. It'll be 12. 4 times 3 is 12. So you get 4 over 12. That's the first one. And this works out to 9 over 12 over here. And then you have two numbers you can work with, because then you just add the 4 and the 9 and you get 13. So 13 over 12 is your answer. But that's an improper fraction, right? So you want to make that into a mixed number. So you divide the 13 by 12 and you get 1 and 1 over 12, because 12 goes into 13 one time and 1 over 12. Why are we doing it this way? Well, go see the video for improper fractions and you'll find out why we divide it this way. All right? So there's a term here that you need to know about. When you multiply the two bottom numbers by each other like this, you end up with what's called the lowest common denominator. That's what this 12 is. It's the lowest number that both of these things will go into. Right? You can divide 12 by 4 and you can also divide it by 3. Another way to write this expression here is to just multiply the two numbers together and write that underneath a big long line. And then you can do the addition on the top. So instead of writing it as two separate fractions, you could do it this way.